Ranking every NHL team based on the amount of success that they've had since I've been alive. This is part 4. And at the 15th spot, it's the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are the most successful team that hasn't won a Stanley Cup since I've been alive. In fact, they're the only team without a Stanley Cup that has made it to multiple Stanley Cup finals, and they've made it 3 times. And it feels like of those finals losses that the most recent one in 2025 was the most crushing for Oilers fans because they got back to the final but weren't able to beat the team that they lost to the year prior. At the 14th spot, it's the St. Louis Blues. For years, the Blues were one of the most tortured franchises in the NHL. They had existed since 1967 and regularly made the playoffs, but would just run into stronger teams in the Western Conference. Then in 2019, they had a roller coaster of a season, which ended with them defeating the Boston Bruins in a 7-game Stanley Cup final to win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. At 13, it's the Colorado Avalanche. It's actually quite amazing when you think of the turnaround of the Colorado Avalanche. They looked like a complete dumpster fire and finished last in the NHL in 2017, but 1 year later in 2018, they were able to get back to the playoffs, and a huge reason for that was Nathan MacKinnon becoming one of the best players in the NHL. But the Avs were able to build off of that, make the playoffs a few more times, and ultimately win the Stanley Cup in 2022. At the 12th spot, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. This is the part of the list where we start to get into teams that have won a Stanley Cup and made multiple deep playoff runs since I've been alive. And for Carolina, they captured the Stanley Cup in 2006 and have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 times since then, but have won just 1 game in those 4 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're still going to be a strong team this upcoming season, so maybe we'll see them finally break through. At the 11th spot, it's the New Jersey Devils. The Devils were the first team to win the Stanley Cup since I've been alive. They won it in 2003, and since then they've only been to the Stanley Cup final 1 more time, which was in 2012. And lately the Devils haven't had a ton of success in the playoffs, but I do like this young team that they're building around Jack Hughes, and I do think that they will have some playoff success in the future. Now at the 10th spot, it's the Vegas Golden Knights. It's a dead heat between Vegas and New Jersey based on our point system, but if we go to the tiebreaker, which I did say earlier in this list is regular season points percentage, then the Golden Knights have the lead. Vegas has had a ton of success through their first 8 NHL seasons. They made the Stanley Cup final in 2018, then made the Western Conference final in 2020 and 2021, and then made it back to the Stanley Cup final in 2023 and defeated the Florida Panthers to win it all. Like and follow for part 5.